Bless up.
Welcome back, everyone, to the
Welcome,
Cleaning
welcome.
Business Life. What are we talking about today, Shannon?
We're talking about the undercharging fix and why undercharging isn't a pricing problem. And it has very little to do with numbers and everything you do with positioning and systems. So just because you are being booked solid doesn't exactly mean that you're being profitable. And we see this a lot in the groups. And I know we mentioned this a lot. And I feel like I'm on my soapbox, but it really still needs to be addressed today. Here we are 5 years into this, and we're still talking about pricing. And my goal is to get the industry where it needs to go.
Right.
When you ask, what do you charge? Like if I ask Jamie, what does she charge? What do you charge for cleaning? So I can get a comparison note. It gives me flashbacks from when I was with Mary Maids. When I first started Castle Keeper cleaning all of those years ago, I took the Mary Maids model legitimately and I did that, but I was even lower than what they were charging. So I wasn't making any money and I didn't realize it until I started to do the math.
Right. Right. I see it all the time in the groups about, well, I'm booked solid. Trust me, I've been 10 years in the business and we have a 5-month wait list. And it's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, are you profitable? You know, that's what matters. And you have to charge enough to make sure that not just you're turning a profit, but if you're having employees too, they have to turn the whole company as a whole needs to turn a profit in order for this to work. And the way to do that is definitely having a system in place. So,
Yeah, it can be scary initially. A lot of times when I first started working with people, like I am never Shannon, I'm never going to get those prices. I'm like, you'll get it. Nope, I'm never. I
no.
don't even know why you're making me do it. Please don't make me do it. Please, please, please. Please don't. I can't. I just. Oh my god. I can't. And then like I hear back from them a couple days. Like I got it. I got it.
Well, I remember seeing somebody was asking something inside the Maids Network, and if you guys haven't gone there, please go over there. Make sure you fill out all the questions. And I don't want to call out who it was, but somebody had said, is charging $300 enough for a top to bottom deluxe cleaning inside windows, inside the and so many people came to her with love, mind you, with love in their heart because I love this group. This is why I love this group. It is you're allowed to ask these questions, no matter how stupid it feels. And she came back and said, "Thank you guys. I He accepted the bid at $500." And
Right.
I remember I was like,
Everything that goes.
"Whoa!" I was like, hold on to that moment and know, have some patience. People will respect you and they will pay your rates. I just ran another little price increase and I'm still getting bookings. Am I getting all of these bookings? No, and I don't want to. Some
Right.
people are really out there just bargain shopping. And there's cleaners out there, I'm sure, that will accept the bargain shoppers. I really wish they wouldn't so that we could if I'm getting these prices in our area, you can too.
Right.
Please, for the love of
The
everything
second
good.
excuse or the second reason that they give us is I live in a rural community. Both Jamie and I live in a rural community. Jamie's actually more rural than I am. And I think the largest house cleaning job you got was like 10 grand. Granted, there was a lot to it. That was a thing.
But I believe it or not, and it was an off-grid clean. You would think, "Oh, what?" I remember somebody saying, I was only gonna charge them 1,500. I'm glad I gave it to you. I was like, "Really?" Because I could never and then, there was a $3,500 one, there was, a
Several.
$7,000, there was they don't come all the time, you guys, don't think that it comes. I mean, that is a rare case, but it happens, right? It
Does.
does happen, and, I was scared to death. I had to have Shannon actually walk me through, um, those bids. those were the bids that I had to walk. Now I can do it, but, those first couple of big ones, my very first big one, it was that log cabin home where we had to do, and it was my biggest one, which was $2,500, and I was like, "There's no way," and I remember whenever I told him that it was gonna be $2,500, and he, if your guys are watching, he literally he winced, but he goes, "Hey, can I give you your deposit right now for of $300?" And I was like, I knew that I had sold the deal.
Right.
So,
And the deposits have gone up exponentially over
yeah,
time, but
but
it's always interesting to go through the process with someone when they're first learning how to price and getting the price that is actually what the job is worth. And I say this a lot, we're groomed and conditioned. Most of us are women here, and we do have some males, and this isn't against you at all. Women are inherently groomed and conditioned to be the support system of whatever's going on. And we don't like, inherently, we don't like conflict. So we'll take whatever's just given to us, whether it's 2 crumbs or 10 crumbs, and we'll say, okay. And then when you start to see everyone else getting more money, that's when everyone's like, well, maybe I can get more money by, charging the right amount of money. The notorious group, and I still see this all the time, and this has a lot to do with the website they're on, is HomeGlow. There is a Facebook, if you ever want to look at what is really going on the other side of the cleaning industry for house cleaning, go on to the HomeGlow Facebook page and
these
read some of those prices and what's going on with them. But it's just, it's, you get pigeonholed into a certain mindset, and you can't facilitate the growth. And it
and I've
takes,
read
it's a hard thing to like go, oh my God, am I gonna really get $2,500 for this job?
it really is. You feel like you're on the top of a cliff getting ready to jump and hoping that your parachute's gonna catch because you want that money, you want that
Right.
client, and then it's like, whenever it happened the first time, it's like, "Okay." And then it happened the second time, and it's like, "Alright." So, I mean, that tells me that we are in the industry where they do accept those prices, and I'm telling you, you don't want every client. You don't want it. Yeah, it's nice to have it, but, I think, our conversion rate is about, it's in between 60 and sometimes 80%. Sometimes I nail it, and I'm like, "Woohoo, I have a really good week." But then there's other weeks where it's like, "Dang, I'm not get." You start second guessing yourself, so don't think that you're alone on that either. You start second guessing, "Am I charging too high?" And then don't make this mistake of
I
running
see.
back and readjusting your prices. That's not gonna work. Um,
And then your pricing starts to fail once your business starts to grow. Once you proclaim to the universe, I want to scale, I want to grow, I eventually want to get out of the field, I have a deadline, blah blah blah. Well, then your expenses are higher. So your pricing isn't going your pricing has to be adjusted for each expense. I heard a podcast the other day. I was listening to something while I was waiting for an appointment, and they were talking about the need of having an office or a job site manager. So they realized that they needed it, and so they had to get another job to pay for that manager. And I'm not talking about an office manager that's getting 60 grand. They just realized that the price, I believe the price they threw out was $2,000 a month. So they just knew that they had to hunt for a job that covers the $2,000, and that's kind of how they layered in the growing. And I'm not saying that that's the ideal way, but it's a method to the madness, so to speak, right? So
right,
you want to make sure that your pricing starts to correlate with what your expenses are, and it's expensive when you fully automate. It can be $1,500 a month without ad costs. Depending on if you do booking qual or not do booking qual or whatever platform you're picking. There's a lot of expenses. I mean, Jamie has the premium jobber, and I think it's $400 or $500 a month.
right. Well, it's $528 a month, right? Okay, but I'm gonna tell you, I've tossed this around my head like, "Do I need this?" And the answer is yes. I also have every single add-on feature that you can possibly imagine. I
She has
have
all of the bells and whistles.
all of the bells and whistles. I'm on the Grow plan, which I believe is like $400 a month. They don't start off, let me tell you, I never did start off at that rate. I started off with the very lowest tier that they have. They go by tiers, and they have 3. And once you get up to, say, the grow plan and you grow into the grow plan, you can always tell them because it says it's up to 15 users. Now, I also let people, my accountant is in there, my bookkeeper is in there, my virtual assistants are in there. Do I fill all those 15 slots? No. And if you don't have 15 employees or do it however I'm doing it, you can call Jobber and say, hey, can we renegotiate this? Their customer service is on point. So that's why I stay
That's
with them.
refreshing to hear, especially in today's climate.
Yes, yes. I've always wanted to make that announcement. Should please talk to them before you just say, I can't afford this. And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't think I could afford whenever I remember whenever, Shannon told me that, you know, we use Jobber, and I'm like, What? You pay that much a month for this?" I cannot live without it. I
Right,
cannot it runs my whole business. So to me, that's part of a business, that's just part of it, and that's why we need to charge what we charge.
right. If you want a legitimate business. If you don't
Right.
want a legitimate business, then that's a different story.
You wanna do a side hustle? There's nothing wrong with that either. Whenever you wanna take that step over into from side hustle over to becoming a real business, that's whenever you need to start looking into your CRMs, and I'll always be partial to Jobber, and looking to raise your rates. That's how I did it. First jumped in, I was charging hourly, and Shannon told me to start charging flat rates, and it clicked in my head like, "Oh, yeah, I am gonna get faster. That's gonna cause a problem down the road." But as soon as I got that money, I took it and put it towards my insurance, or no, I doing business as, my DBA.
Right.
I ran a thing in
Yep.
the ad, and then I took that piece of paper because you gotta run an ad at 3 weeks in the newspaper, then I took that piece of paper, went and got insurance on the next job that I got. I videoed the whole thing. I took pictures, you'll see it on my social media. If you go, "What?" I mean, we're talking. It'll be
Like
4 years now.
2022, I don't remember.
4 years
A
now,
while ago.
and, I documented all those little small wins like that, and, whenever I did that, whenever I started getting my DBA, my insurance, my prices went up just a little bit. I was scared to death. I was scared to death. I was like, "There's no way." That's That's one of my biggest competitors. They've been in business for almost 30 years. That's the only people that I really look at as, like, a competitor. I'm just now trying to make a name for myself. So, but that's how it started, and I looked, kinda took a sneak peek and seen what they were charging. They're insured, bond, they're all the things. They're all the things. They got all these reviews, and I was like, "That's who I kinda wanna strive to be." I want those reviews. So I got a website. I mean, little by little, I was building, but I'm telling you, whenever I did it, I had my nose to the ground. And it all started with having Shannon walk me through making sure I was pricing right.
That's
So, and then all these systems started building in place because that's what you're doing is building a system,
right.
and it's a machine now, and I'm here is I'm oiling the machine, and now it's to where I'm like I can see my slow months that I've been in business now, or my high months, and what I need to be charging, and learning production rate so that you know that you're charging enough to support your employees. um
Definitely, because that you can't make it without them. And a lot of times we undercharge because hearing no feels like it's personal in the service-based industry, and we see this a lot in a lot of the groups. "Oh my gosh, I gave this person with this 4,500 square foot home, 3 levels, 8 bedrooms, 2 baths," or, whatever
$20.
ridiculous. And I gave them a price for 150 and they said, "No, what did I do wrong?"
Yeah. Am I doing something wrong? Oh, it must be where I live. I see that too.
Right.
Or then in the comments, because that's where the tea's at, you ladies and gentlemen. It's
Yes.
in the comments. It ain't the post, but whenever you look, and I do because I look at the comments and I do respond often because I want us all, and I know that's what Shannon wants to,
Mhm.
us to be all charging about the same because we can't.
Right. The whole industry will shift when we're all charging the relatively the same marker. And I'm not saying that we all have to charge the same marker, but when we get up from where we are, so it evens out the playing field, so that clients who have 4,500 square foot homes don't expect a top to bottom deluxe cleaning for $200.
Right.
It's
You're
like,
putting it in their
that's
heads,
what
you
I mean.
guys.
Not for
You're
us.
putting it in their heads. We, the business owner, are giving the client a very false narrative of that's well, my last cleaner charged that. I hear that often. And it's like, well, you want to say, and I would never, don't do as I think. I want to say, well, then your last cleaner's wrong.
Where
Sorry,
is your
she's
cleaner?
wrong.
That's the question you should be asking. Your cleaner didn't make it because they bankrupted themselves because they didn't charge enough money. That's what happened. So they
But
were still
like,
my
well, here
cousin.
we are in 2026 now.
Right.
Sorry. I
My
have,
cousin Jennifer has been cleaning for, I want to say 30 years. She has the same house as she's had for 30 years. She still charges the $95 to the one house. It's 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, 3 levels, 6,500 square feet for $95. And she's in there once a week.
yeah,
She
I
won't
had somebody like that.
change. I'm like, I love her, but
Well, I had somebody I have I could tell you guys story after story, especially now that I've been in the industry long enough to tell you that you get it too. You'll hear it. I had a client, a potential client. Now, mind you, this client forgot that she'd actually used me way back in the beginning whenever I was first starting.
she did
And then
the
she
circuit.
had me come and do a walkthrough again. And then the third time she called, and I have it on the phone whenever she calls, do not accept this call. This is who this is, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, she calls and says, well, I have a cleaner right now, and they're charging me about $75 an hour. And whoa, I say no to that. And I said, oh, well, really? I don't know. That's about, I never heard from her again.
Right,
Never heard from her again. Now, that was in one of our personal groups here, my community group, and, that's I run stuff all the time,
right.
front and center, and,
You hear the stories in the groups, you see the stories, you can reply to the stories, and we have to remember too, cleaning is intimate, physical, local work. So when you're starting to expand, hearing that no does feel personal.
yes,
And it's also a reason why, because it's so close to you, because it's your baby, that it's the hardest thing for an owner to let go and let others clean for them. But that's when you really need to make sure that your pricing is right on the mark, because if you're already having an extra expense and you don't have the money to pull in to cover for the payroll, it can be stressful. Even
right.
shopping can be stressful.
Remember this, one cleaning tech can pull in about $70,000 for the business a year.
When?
One cleaner tech. So, if you wanna grow and learn how to make that money, they get to make money. It's not like we're sitting there hogging it all to ourselves. No,
And if you had 12 cleaning techs, it would be $840,000 is what you gross at
right?
70 grand.
There it is,
Just something
ladies.
to think about.
Yep. Just, so raising prices, is don't
Making sure you're charging current market value. People
yeah.
pleasing and care-based conditioning in the industry is, I think that there should be care-based conditioning anonymous. Some of us could sit down, "Hi, my name is Shannon. I'm a care-based conditioned person. I care for the following laundry list of things every single day, and I don't wanna do it anymore." I really think that there should be little groups for us, because we see things, family members who aren't making it, and they say that they don't have the money, but yet the new car arrives, or they go on vacation to Costa Rica, or the little old lady who has the brand new 2026 Camaro because it's always what she wanted, but she only has $90 for cleaning.
But has to have the cleaning.
Right, it has to have, so it's the whole dynamic. So we see it, you see it, I see it, Jamie sees it. So I really wish that there was an anonymous for people pleasing and the care based conditioning that happens a lot in our industry. I mean, you see the free cleanings, you see a lot of things that you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, often. So,
And then
yeah,
undercharging is a conflict avoidance. So you take it and then you make it, and then it's the next one, right? So you don't want to have the conflict, right? You just like, if they say I'm going to pay, this happens a lot in the short term rental. It pays $75, and the girl goes, okay, and there's 15 loads of laundry. Well, and they have the energy efficient washer and dryer, right? So that's just not a good combination.
yeah, that too. So, yeah, you were building. We're not trying to survive here. You're separating your self-worth from pricing, letting pricing filter clients, using structure to neutralize emotion. That's hard.
It is.
Neutralizing your emotions because, like you just said, you take it so personally, and you want that so bad, especially whenever you start having employees. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's like, am I pricing too high? I need to find you will find that sweet spot. And whenever and don't make whatever you do, do not make an emotional draw yourself back, especially if you've gotten, a couple of bids at that price. I remember telling that girl in the Maids Network, I was like, "I want you to hold on to this feeling and this moment and remember that you can get these prices. So once you do this one and nail it, you're going to maybe I can go up about 50 bucks. Let's see what happens." But if you're having people time again, time over time, taking your bid.
It's time to raise your rates, right? Anytime you have a wait list, it's time to raise your rates. And there can be the hidden cost of avoiding no is that there's a consequence, and you don't want to have that because you don't want to lose the bid. But on the same level, you have to get the price. The price is the price is the price. And if you don't get the price that you're looking for, then resentment, dread, irritability, not wanting to finish the job. I don't remember who it was. I had some cleaner openly tell the homeowner that they ran out of products. The house was dirtier than she had anticipated, and she had prepared for what he had described over the phone. So she shows up, he's not there, and doesn't renegotiate the job right then and there. So she tries to clean what she can with the product she has, but because it's so dirty, it requires 10 times more of that product than what she has. So she had to pull off the job, run over to Home Depot, and then the job became longer, and then it became the scope of the job changed, and he didn't want to pay more. And it was like all of this stuff. I'm like, why didn't you renegotiate? So you don't want to do that because then you don't do a good job when you become resentful.
Yeah, well,
And,
it's
and
fair too. Yeah, there's nothing worse than cleaning a house, because 'cause I've been there, you know? There's nothing worse than cleaning a house for knowing you're working for peanuts. It sucks. You have and it sets the tone for the whole day, or
it does.
possibly even the whole week, and you're down in a funk because it's like, mm-mm. And then whenever you finally get rid of the client that you're like, "I'm upping your price," it's such a gratifying, like, "Okay, I wanna cancel." Woo! Now I can put somebody in this slot that I know will fill it and appreciate, and I'll get 50 bucks more, and
Right.
they're reoccurring or, whatever the case may be.
And And we're not saying that all clients are bad, you just outgrow clients, right? Initially, you get the legacy
Yeah.
clients, they stick around, and then as you have to increase, they eventually drop off your schedule. And that's just the nature of our business and our industry. Yeah, so scope creep, unpaid extras, endless communication. I often reference the point of the lady with what I believe it was 27 pillows on her bed, and we had to take a picture. And in reality, I should have taken on the responsibility of trying to make sure that her pillows got exactly to her preference because it was unrealistic. I mean, if I wasn't there, then it didn't get done right, even with the photograph, right? Then I would get a phone call at 9 o'clock at night. So, and it just became to the point where it just was not worth it. And then if you're not pulling in enough money, you're not going to have an opportunity to, to hire scale and or rest. I spoke to someone. We have a little bit of background noise or something. Who had worked 31 days for the whole month of December. She had worked every single day. I'm like, why? Did you get a big bonus? What was the whole point of, And she's like, well, the clients didn't want to schedule in the right time slots. I'm like, no, that's when you tell them, this is what I have open.
Right, right. There's time blocking, and that's something that I'm learning myself. But you also have to make sure that if you have employees, your employees are paid. You have to be able to pay the payroll taxes. You gotta make sure that you're making enough to be able to pay the government whenever that time comes. Trust me, I'm there right now, you guys. And without as you get bigger, it gets the amount that you make, is a bit intimidating. And that's whenever I honestly have called out for help to delegate some of that because it gets a little uh I don't know, a little nerve-wracking that you have these amount of people to feed that are relying on you. You have your own business and stuff, and you still have to make this business run smoothly. And you guys, I just, as a matter of fact, today I threw out a cast. I was like, hey, I need some hands up. I need some help here. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect because 'cause I'm far from it, but I will let you guys know how that goes, but that's where I'm at now. I am in the position to where it's like, "Okay, we're getting up there." You can hear the crack in my voice. It's intimidating to me, and I just do not wanna mess this up, and Shannon can only take me so far, especially whenever it's in certain like, she cannot go into my actual bank account and say, "Here, I'm gonna pay these bills for you." That's not gonna happen.
Definitely. And then you don't want to get exhausted either. So if you're not charging enough and you're working 31 days in a row, if you go down because you're the ship isn't going to sail. And everyone who's dependent on your crew, your family, your littles, everybody else and in between, you're just, you would have, there's nothing worse than being so exhausted that you can't even function. That all you want to do is lay in bed and be inert. And I've seen people, I actually think it's probably called something, but I don't know what that is.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're not at that point. So the whole way of having the boundaries, and you guys hear me talk about boundaries until I'm blue in the face, is so that you have slots of time where you can manage yourself and eventually step out and become an absentee owner. So a clean no at the beginning is far cheaper than a resentful yes 6 months in.
Amen.
Then there's, you exacerbate the whole situation. The person doesn't appreciate you, and not only are you not making any money, they're kind of a little bit of verbal abusive, and they're spicy and salty, and then maybe there's other things going on. It just becomes a whole hot mess. So higher prices without structure collapse under pressure. So if you raise your prices and you don't follow through with anything that you say or you're going to do, the whole thing can collapse. And then people are like, where's my raise?
Very true.
Or I thought you were going to do those windows for free and it's 54 windows and you had said yes on a whim one day when the sun was shiny and you got some time to yourself.
And that's great. That's where I really like Jobber. I know sounds like, but literally you can set it up to where it shows inside windows. We charge $7 a window pane and it comes out and it spits out $7 how many windows, and it's like, "Darn it, I didn't count all the windows, but I took pictures." So sometimes I have to come back and I'm like, "Okay, I gotta count all these pictures." I still do that to this day, you guys. So
Most homeowners aren't going to know how many windows unless they just had them replaced.
right, they'll count the whole window and they don't understand, even if you try to explain. But the fact is they can visually see the complete breakdown of everything, like that we charge $125 to do the inside of the oven, and then just call me Walmart. Well, I'm not a Walmart, but definitely, you're going shopping at my business.
Yeah, it's a la carte, you can pick what you need. And
Yeah,
then sometimes there's the factor of raising your prices and panicking at pushback. How many times have you gotten that?
yeah.
Hundreds for me.
Yeah,
Thousands
no,
probably.
I so many times whenever you feel like, "Okay, we gotta make some sales. I need to close these." I've thought about it, I've thought about it, but I stayed firm. Probably in the beginning, first 2 years, I probably definitely panicked, and I was like, "Okay, we're only charging," but just like you said, 6 months later, you regret it. I just said, I tried to raise my rate $15 on this one gal, but that's okay because one of my cleaners said why she was like, "You're not the only one, Jamie." I hear whenever I'm cleaning, she's on the phone just complaining about everybody. I'm like, there it is right there." Oh,
And then there's sometimes too when you fold or you say I'm going to give you a frequency discount or you're over explaining or you're justifying the expense. And typically when I say, it sounds like it's a budgetary thing. If that should change, I'm happy to put you on the schedule. Please reach out. I don't argue. I don't engage. Every once in a while, I can be kind of naughty if they're really, really feisty with me. And I've been doing this 15 years, so you can only imagine what I say on the other side of the phone.
well, you wanna explain. Okay, well, I got an email that, I'm paying $130 an hour, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, first of all, you're a monthly. Second of all, there's 2 people that come over and clean your big home, huge home.
Right.
You didn't take into effect actually, you're only paying, like, 70 something an hour per man hour, and, they wanted that scope creep. Can you just wipe out real quick my what was it, 4 Wolf ovens. Just do a quick wipeout. I don't understand, I'm paying some really good money here. The
I want
whole
something extra because now I need to make sure I get my money's worth.
and I got my ass handed to me too whenever she
I
came back
remember.
at me, she goes, "You belong in the commercial field. This is exactly why I don't." And you know what? In the past, me would have explained like, "Well, I got this to pay for and this," and I said, "Okay, thank you. If down in the future you wanna use this again, we'll be more than happy to." Do you know she came back at me and she goes, "Well, I am gonna have surgery in 6 months. I'll reach out then." This is after the crappy email. So, yeah,
You just never know with people. So
right.
when you just and sometimes you catch people on a bad day, and then if you and also another way that pricing can fail is if you have lack of policies, you don't have firm scripts, like if you have a full-time salesperson closing deals, or you're not familiar at closing deals, and the boundaries. You hear me talk about boundaries all the time. So if you don't have any of those threes, that can also make your pricing structure fail. And then guilty as the owner, I've said things, I'm like, yeah, 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 we'll do it. And then I don't write it down. And then so and so ends up showing up. They're like, she said that you said this. I'm like, I did?
Yeah.
Gotta write that stuff down and put it in the computer right away off your phone.
Right, right. Right into the notes somewheres. And those policies, speaking of policies, you guys, I definitely need to revise mine and go through,
Constantly.
um, my script. I'm still kinda all over the place with my script of closing. Um, I'm really good at asking for a deposit now. I mean, that's a good script. Right,
I still got
and
that part right.
nobody really argues with that, and it's like, "Okay."
It's more
It's just
common and mainstream now than it was 5 years ago. That is for sure.
for
And
sure.
then, sometimes confidence isn't enough either. Sometimes there was someone who said something to me the other day. It's we take on every project, but we don't take on every client. So
That's good. I like that.
sometimes it's a case like that. So pricing without boundaries is just wishful thinking. So, and we see owners, they raise their prices, they feel confident for a week, and then they fold at the first objection because nothing else changed. And sometimes there's a workaround. Like if they've been Mrs. Smith, I always use Mrs. Smith. She's a busy lady. You guys hear me
That
all
Mrs.
the time.
Smith.
But maybe Mrs. Smith has had a hard year and she's gone through cancer, or her husband's gone through cancer and he rallied, and they've had a lot of expenses. Maybe they prepay. And this is only with an established individual. Maybe they prepay in cash or a check and they stick with that year's pricing. And then the following year, you raise the rates. Don't hold back on raising rates and charging what you need to charge, because you're paying for the privilege of cleaning someone's home. If that's the case, and you can do that, you have the choice and the right to do so. When you get some of your legacy clients who just can't afford it, just give them the free cleaning. Don't let them pay. Say, we're
Yeah,
gonna, you know what? I can't tell you how many times I've had someone who had cancer and they had nobody. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to be cleaning that house for free until the end.
uh,
And we did.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's something that you have to decide whether you can afford it. It wasn't hey, can you do this for Mrs. Smith? It was I know this individual. She's been my client for 7 years. She's dying. The least I could do. Now with the move out cleaning, I ended up making up some of the money because we ended up packing up the house and helping with the estate sale and all the other stuff. So that I consider that a karmatic payback.
right, right. No, I
So you just
agree.
never know which way to go.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely needs to be someplace from your heart, and you do need to look at your financials and make sure that
Mhm.
you are financially able to take
To pay
that.
for that labor.
Yeah, to pay for the labor, and because it's physically taxing, mentally too.
Right.
Mentally too. It can be mentally taxing for my cleaning tax. I know they
Cancer
take a lot
sucks.
because they see a lot. We all see a lot, and it's just
Definitely. And then the fix is a system, not a mindset. It's courage and motivation. So pricing for the business you're building and not surviving, that is the mind shift that you get, the whole aha. I often speak of the time when I charged $25 an hour and I started to do the math in my head. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to work all these crazy hours. And that's when I was like, this is before any of the internet and Facebook groups. I started to try to figure out how I could charge a flat rate. And like all of the trades charge flat rates. I'm like, well, how do I bill that and figure that out? So that was me going from just surviving to thriving, right? Once you figure out the flat rate price and how many labor hours are in there, what production rates are, you're like, okay, well, I'm making this much money off this job. This is where the sweet spot is. And then you also have to separate self worth from your pricing. Oftentimes, again, Jamie went through this. I went through it myself. I've walked thousands of people with the pricing blueprint masterclass.
Mhm.
It's it's you deserve to be paid top dollar. We work hard. If you're out in the field, you're still working hard. There is no sugarcoating it. It's physically demanding. It's hard on your job. A lot of people can't do this past 5 years. If you get a cleaning tech who works 10,
Yeah. Well, I also think that people think that they're an employee.
right? They have an employee mindset.
You Yes, so you don't realize that we have to pay for our lights to stay on. You gotta pay for all those products. An employee gets all those things to them because there's somebody above them that's paying for all the lights, the desk equipment, all the caddy, like, there's somebody out there that's paying. Exactly, it's an employee mindset and not an actual business owner, because you do have to pay for all those expenses and you deserve to get paid.
The CEO mindset, I believe, was the last book I wrote. It's on Amazon. And then letting pricing filter clients. This is so valuable. Like, it took me a long time to let my pricing filter clients. And what I'm talking about, and we're kind of lagging behind. This is my fault. Monthly clients. Monthly clients for us this year start at $225 to $250. That is the minimum charge that I start off any monthly client. And the reason for that is because that's how much that spot is worth on my schedule,
Yes.
and it filters out all the people who are $125 or $90 or $80 or 150 or 185. I need to hit the 250 mark, and it covers 3.5 hours of labor. And that's just, I'm making $100 off every monthly cleaning just by
Yeah.
default. The cleaning tech's making great money. They're only working 3.5 hours, and we do it on, they get a certain percentage of the job. I get my share of the job, and it ends up being a win-win. That's why I'm talking about letting pricing filter clients. And then it takes out, and I don't want to say this in the mean or derogatory, but it takes out the bottom feeders. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but
No?
those clients are not as fluent in the cleaning industry as the rest of us, right? So they're still learning. They haven't caught up to the rest of us. And it does filter out a lot of people because that's your price. That your price to operate is so important. And make sure that you are making business decisions and not personal judgment. I know Jamie talked a lot about emotional, and every time I've made an emotional decision, it has cost me thousands.
You regret it. You do.
It's
You regret
hard.
it,
It's really hard.
and they're really hard to get rid of.
Right. And it's not really about being expensive. It's really about being sustainable. If you want to be in the game, like I said, I've been doing this 15 years. A lot of businesses don't make it past 5. So you want to make sure that you are not being expensive, that you really are being sustainable, that your business is going to be there. A legacy is what you're creating.
Right.
And if this episode makes you realize that undercharging isn't just a number, the next step isn't guessing higher pricing.
In time, growth, real life, and just labor, right?
That's exactly why I built the pricing blueprint. It's a profit first pricing system designed to fix undercharging at the system level, not just the number level. You can learn more at cleanfreaksuniversity.com.
And yes, that you guys, and that first pricing system. Haven't read Profit First, you guys, or listened to it in audio and grab the workbook as well, I highly suggest you do that.
Definitely.
You're not greedy,
You
go
deserve
out
to be paid
there.
top dollar.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks for tuning in. Again, we're still we have one spot left for sponsorship. If that is something that you are interested in, please hit Jamie or myself up and we'll guide you through the process.
And we love it. Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.